Hey guys, today I'm going to cover the prototype of Missing in Action for the Atari 7800. It was slated to be published by TNT Games, who apparently tried to get into the Atari 2600 and 7800 market right before the market slowed to a crawl. They ended up only producing one game, BMX Racing, for the 2600. The programming for Missing in Action was handled by Sculptured Software, who did a great job porting the arcade hit Commando to the Atari 7800, which I reviewed in episode 203 of the No Swear Gamer. Missing in Action has a copyright year of 1989, which would be 5 years after the original movie came out. While it may seem strange to have a game based on an R-rated movie at a time when mostly kids played video games, it was not all that unusual, with games like Die Hard and Rambo popping up on the NES. My guess is TNT acquired the license on the cheap, since Missing in Action 3 bombed at the box office a year earlier, and Chuck Norris himself was not at one of his higher points of popularity. And this is not the first time Mr. Norris appeared in an Atari video game, as he appeared in Chuck Norris Super Kicks on the Atari 2600 6 years earlier. Missing in Action is a side-scrolling action game for one player only, and it has 3 difficulty settings: Novice, Standard, and Expert. The game contains 12 levels separated into 5 phases. For the prototype version, at the beginning of the game, you can enable a level select by sliding the right difficulty switch into the left position, and then into the right position when it highlights the level you want to play on. The game also allows you to be invincible by sliding the left difficulty switch in the right position, at which point the status bar on top will turn red. However, you can still die by touching the flame from a flamethrower or falling into an instant death obstacle such as pits or ventilation fans. You play Colonel James Braddock, and at the beginning of the game, you escape a Vietnam internment camp during the Vietnam War. Your goal is to successfully escape the camp while freeing prisoners and eventually defeat the ambassador of drugs. When you are not fighting an enemy, you move Chuck by pressing left or right with the joystick. Pushing down will make you crouch, and either button will make you jump in the direction you're facing. To perform a long jump, you must press diagonally down towards the directions you want to go while pressing a button. Pressing diagonally down to jump didn't feel right at first, but it is something I got used to. When you come close enough to an enemy, you will enter combat mode, and you will not be able to leave this mode until you defeat that enemy. The joystick in this mode still moves you to the left or the right, but now pressing down will cause you to duck, while pressing up will cause you to jump. Using the left button will cause you to kick, and the right button is used for punches. You can actually hold down either of these buttons and use the joystick repeatedly to punch or kick. Holding up when kicking will perform a jump kick, and holding up when punching will cause you to perform a roundhouse. There are also items you can pick up by pressing down when over them when you are not in combat mode. However, they don't seem to do anything, and this seems to be one of the few things in the game that is unfinished. The game also has a level where you drive a machine gun armed boat. During this level, you press left to speed up and right to slow down. You also use up and down to aim your machine gun, and either button to fire at either enemy soldiers above or water mines below. Taking a single hit in the boat will cost you a life, but if you make it through, you actually get to carry the machine gun with you and fire it with either button until you sadly run out of ammo. Graphically speaking, the game looks pretty good for a 7800 title, with varied backgrounds for several of the levels. The sounds and music also do a solid job, with the opening theme in particular being very well done. Family friendly wise, there is no blood, but there is a lot of military style action. There's also some bugs in the game that had yet to be worked out, including an underwater sewer level that is impossible to finish, and a boss at the end of the second to last level who is impossible to fight, but thankfully you can use a level select feature to pass these levels. So what did I think of the Missing in Action prototype? Overall, I think this would have been a great addition to the 7800 library, given it's a style of game that was popular on the NES but lacking on the 7800. The fighting controls do take a little getting used to, as they're more like Prince of Persia or Karateka than a typical action game, and there were many times when it seemed rather difficult to connect punches or kicks, especially when characters were overlapping. But then when I was able to pull off several successive hits in a row, it really felt satisfying. I also wish there were more chances to carry the machine gun, but perhaps that was something they were planning on adding later on. And due to the length of the game, it may have been quite difficult to complete in a single sitting, but with invincibility and level select in this version, that wasn't a problem. Overall, I think TNT was heading in the right direction with this one, and it's a shame the market for 7800 titles shrank before they could release it. But then of course there's that rumor that Chuck Norris had TNT cancel the game when he found out his character could actually take damage. What's up with that, TNT? At this time, I'd like to thank Cover Art Kevin, who is also known as Kevin Moss 3 at Atari Age, who's been a big help to my podcast, the Atari 7800 Game by Game podcast, for lending me a copy of this prototype. Thank you, Kevin. I'd really appreciate it if you would click the like and subscribe buttons. I'd also appreciate it if you decided to support the show on Patreon. Just go to patreon.com/nosforgamer for more information. And you can also follow me on both the Facebook or the Twitter. Thank you for giving me a little part of your day. I look forward to seeing you next time on the next episode of the No Swear Gamer. Take care, everybody.